Hey guys, welcome to episode 39 of At the Coffee Table podcast. I'm Jason Klink, your host. I'm here with Hue Hanks, my partner in crime at Next Home Realty, and today the hat's my broca instead of my Reala. Either way, that's how you find Hue. We're doing our Friday cocktail, Friday happy hour podcast. So, he's got the my Reala hat. Okay. I was watching this first Syracuse basketball game just before we jumped on here, so I got the Syracuse merch garb going, watching the basketball team. Rough start so far for the kids. They learned to pick up their pace a little bit, I think. But as I'm watching this, along the bottom line for ESPN was, all these sports teams that are have players and staff testing positive for COVID, which is starting to impact games. I saw, what was it, the Pinstripe Bowl that's down in Yankee Stadium every year. That's been completely canceled because of the coronavirus. And you look in the news and all the counts are up and all the positive tests are up. And, they're even higher than what we dealt with in March and April. And Hugh, you weren't in the real estate business yet, but when they locked everything down back in March and April, it was, what do we do now? Because we couldn't do anything for weeks.
Yeah.
And then they came with the directives of how to do real estate virtually. So then we had to figure it out virtually. And we were doing the virtual showings, video tours, and I actually had two different buyers put in offers sight unseen, but what they saw in the video put offers in on homes because there were still so many people looking for homes to buy. So that gave us an option until May when the rocket ship that's real estate took off again, and we were able to do in-person meetings. But everything is just so, man, it's on shaky ground right now.
Did they end up changing the classification to essential workers for real estate?
So I don't know if we're essential workers per se. I know that home inspectors, bank appraisers were able to get that essential worker status. I don't think that the real estate agents are classified under that, because I know that down in downstate, at one point last month, the Long Island, I think it was, the real estate was shut down to virtual again. So it gets real challenging, and it's a double-edged sword because, and I'm sure you saw the mortgage rates this week really went even lower than they have been, which just for our clients and the customers that we work with, I mean, that just helps out everybody and makes the real estate market just as strong as, and we were talking about last time, the real estate market is just as strong going into quarter one and quarter two, at least at this point.
You're right. Yeah, these are record lows, and this is the time. This is the time to buy and time to start getting all your accounts in order. Not just for other people, but for us.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody, a home buyer, and they were talking how they got pre-approved from Quicken loans, which always makes me cringe a little bit. Everybody, home buyers are free to do business whoever they want to do banking with when it comes to doing mortgages. But I think about, Quicken loans, Rocket loans, as far as I know about them, they don't have a very good idea of how real estate's done in New York State. And it's a whole different beast compared to, Florida. You can go down to Florida and close on a home 30 days with a mortgage. New York, because of all the mandates and waiting periods and paperwork, it's a 60-day plus closing. So then you get a pre-approval from a national company like Quicken Loans, and they go into underwriting and they go into the closing process, and they usually typically have a very lack of understanding on New York State real estate. So when it comes to preparing, yes, you can take advantage of all the great mortgage rates that they're giving everyone, but you really, there's something to be said about doing business local, and a lot of people have been talking about that because of other businesses being shut down, restaurants, bars, whatever. So I've always been a proponent of directing home buyers to local.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because, like you said, if it's out of Florida or Texas, what do they know about New York State?
Right, right.
So they're just reading from whatever's on paper.
Yeah.
But when you're actually inside New York State, there's all these different red tape measurements out there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I've even had buyers do business with like a big bank like Bank of America.
Mhm.
And you may walk into a local branch for Bank of America, but your underwriting, your file for your mortgage application may end up in North Carolina. So these are all the things that people um, may or may not know, and that's that. And I think that's part of the planning that we talk about is having that knowledge and that information before you go and commit to that one banker. And if you've been a customer of Bank of America for 20 years, then more power to you. But there are other options out there.
You're right. So, for instance, if I'm baking a pie, I want to know all the directions, all the ins and outs, and I want to have
Yep.
everything at my disposal that I'm going to need so I don't have to stop, run out, and go get it.
Yep.
It's
Because
the
you
same
leave out an ingredient and it's not going to turn out like it should.
Oh no, it's going to be flat.
Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. Um, it seemed we had Thanksgiving yesterday, which was different for a lot of people. And then you got the holidays that are.
I figure that's why you're in the hoodie today. Give you
Yeah,
some room.
Yeah, that's right. It's different for everyone. Then you got the Christmas holidays and New Year's that are coming up that are bound to be different for everyone. And it's interesting how you have the planning that goes into it that typically that you do for this time of year. It's really taken on a whole new meaning, and a lot of the stuff is just not going to go away until hopefully the first half of next year.
Yeah, it's even projected to like the summertime.
Yeah. So you think about people that typically, and it doesn't even have to be our real estate business with buying or selling. It could be people that are planning vacations or planning their whatever trips, planning family outings that all are just pulled back because of all the stuff that's increasing.
You're right. So just think about this. When all this does go away, say that it may be July or August, just imagine how big everything's going to be. If we can just hold on and hold on until that time, because think about how big the restaurant industry is going to be when everything picks back up, real estate, just even the stocks. Like in the airplanes and travel in general, Airbnb, everything's going to be so huge if we can just hold on.
Yeah, we gotta. It's tough to lose that kind of hope that that's all going to come back because just based on everything. But I think that there's definitely the possibility, like you said, for a lot of those industries and I've heard some of the gurus talk about a lot of those industries that are going to come back and really do well because everybody's just you're sitting back and waiting for that ability to take that trip to somewhere tropical or take the trip to Disney World or whatever without the pandemic shutdown. And we've talked about the stock stuff because it's one day it's everything's going in the right direction with a vaccine, and then they fall off the cliff because the virus is twice as bad as it was in March. It's just, but you see a lot of these places that are struggling, these local businesses. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. The politicians to me are following data that they're not following the data, especially at the state level. Albany does not have any idea what's going on in Onondaga County or Syracuse or Central New York more than what they know what's going on in the western part of the state. And to sit there and shut down these bars or even the hair salons. That doesn't make any sense to me. The hair salons, among a lot of the other businesses, they're taking the most precaution. But you're going to keep open and shove people into Walmart and Target because they're translating into dollars, bigger dollars for the big box stores. It just I don't get it.
It's a tough call for a lot of stuff, but I think the bigger thing is when they're shutting down hair salons because of the people that are actually in the chair. They're just shutting it down because you don't know where they've been. And it's hard that people have to dictate what you can and cannot do. I feel like when I was teaching second grade, my students for recess, I'd be like, all right, if you guys are great for the first half of the day, I'll take you outside. And I have a class of 28 kids. And then 4 kids aren't great, which kind of tarnished me as a teacher. And they're starting to embarrass me as a teacher. So guess what? That whole class is not going out for recess just because of those 4 people. So then when I think about COVID, it's people. People have been shutting down these small businesses because we're not doing what we should be doing, which is our civic duty is to care about other people. And that's the true definition of a patriot to me.
There's just a lot of factors that are playing into this that, you have that factor of what you're talking about of doing the right thing, but the COVID fatigue, as they call it, because humans want human interaction. So they want to be around their family and their friends and do all that. And I think there's something to be said, like if you're in the same, you've been with the same group of your family for months on end now. That's one thing, but the huge parties, that bring other people in, like the high school kids that are having these large parties, that doesn't make any sense, and nobody's holding them accountable until it's too late.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the tough part. Yep.
So this is perfect. So what did you end up doing yesterday for Thanksgiving? How was it different? How was it weird?
So the only difference for us is because typically we have our Thanksgiving celebration with my in-laws, and it's not a huge group. And even yesterday there was only the 10 of us because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are in Rhode Island. And because of everything that's going on and the requirements to travel, they just couldn't do it. So that was the only thing that was really different. And the other different part was, including my parents, because my parents are seniors and they've been really laying low because of underlying health problems. They don't need to catch this. So they really just did their own thing, which is great. I'd rather have them do that. Yeah. And for us with my wife's family, it's just, we've been together for the majority of the summer anyway. And that's our little bubble. And, that's where the way we wanted to keep it. So it's just finding that balance, really. That's what we did for us. What did you guys end up doing?
Well, we ended up doing, my parents are getting up there, and like you said, they have underlying health conditions, so they were laying low. So they decided, we usually just do everything over there, but they decided to do like a drive-through. So what we did was just go over there. We let them know what time we were going to go over there, and just picked up some food, talked for a few minutes, and then just kept it moving.
Oh, okay.
Just because, I heard someone say it, and I think it was on like Fox Business Channel or something like that. And they said it's not just about this year and enjoying Thanksgiving with your family, but it's about being able to enjoy your family next year as well. So that really brought it home.
Yeah, without a doubt. But there's so many factors playing into this, and I could get off on a political tangent of how the politics is playing into this. And a lot of it just doesn't make sense. And you get different input from other places. But it's just like hoping for the best, with this transition on the national level, which, they may or may not play a factor in our individual lives, whoever's sitting in the White House, and at this point, it looks like it's Biden.
Yeah,
He
crushing it by far.
Yeah, the numbers speak for themselves, whatever they might be. I don't have a lot of confidence in any oversight when it comes to the election results. I think we lose it where we don't have voter identification when it comes to voting. And without that voter identification and that accountability, saying that Hue went and Hue cast his vote because he showed me his ID and he went and cast his vote. I think that's where we're at a loss with our political atmosphere and our democracy.
I think it's been going on like that for years. So who's ever been winning over the years is who's definitely won it. Same thing with this year. The data speaks for itself. Me being a science teacher, so when it comes to coronavirus and the data, I go with data. Me being a math professional, I go with data when it comes to election and electoral college and the votes. So I just got to go with data. And I think for this coronavirus to finally leave and be handled the right way, it's time for, I think the voters spoke.
There were so many factors that went into that. There's so many, there's so many, so I call them outside forces just playing into that whole thing. And I try not to, because I have my own political beliefs. I have a tough time buying into the two-party system. I think there's too many extreme factors playing in. There's so much money being involved in the two-party system. For the last, at least 4 years, if not 6 years, I've been supporting, a third-party candidate for any race, just because I think it's a shame that you tomorrow couldn't form the, orange and blue party and go and have your own independent, campaign and get the same access and the same coverage as red or blue. It's just, I have a huge problem with that. I have a huge problem with our political system, the way it's turned out. It's never meant to have been turned out to be that way. I mean, at heart, I'm a constitutionalist. At heart, I wobble between left of center and right of center. And I think a majority of people wobble between right of center and left of center, depending on what they do, what they believe in. But we have to me, we have the ultra elite that have the money to steamroll the direction of whatever the election might be.
Well, my biggest problem with being a election buff and a historian buff is like these last several years, it's like either you are for something or you're against something. Like you can't be both. Like you can't be pro Black Lives Matter and pro police. They make you pick a side.
You should have to.
They turn it into politics and make you pick a side instead of picking what's right and what's wrong. So we as individuals, we as Americans have the ability to know what's right for you and what's wrong for you. You do not have to be, all right, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. All right, we're supposed to just go separate ways. That's not how it's supposed to be. Me personally, most of my views are conservative, but I do follow character. So if you have great character, and I think that my kids will benefit from you being in office, that's who I'm going to go for. I want a role model. That's how I want to present myself as a role model, so that other kids and other people around me will see me and be like, you know what? He's got a great head on his shoulders. So what my goal would be for this country is to not just pick sides, just know that you can be any person that you want to be. Like my whole goal is not just red, not just blue, not just white. I want it all mixed together. I want it all blended so it can just be a purple country. A purple country allows us to like everything. We have the ability to be fiscally responsible. We have the ability to care about others. We have the ability to read the data. That's how my ideal country should be.
And that's, it's one of the memes that I saw was, I don't want to be red, I don't want to be blue, I want to be red, white, and blue.
There you go.
And that's, I think we lost sight of it. Well, not all of us, but I think there's a large majority that's really lost sight of it, and money's making the world go round.
Did you look at the electoral map? Like, if you look at the electoral map and you just see like the places that were red versus the places that were blue or somewhat close, it's kind of alarming because all the red places had zero diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Like when not all the red, but like the majority, if they were like 70% and up,
right,
for red, they had almost less than 5% diversity. That right there alarms me when I'm looking at that map. It's like, so when you start including people that don't look like you, you start caring more about other people, which is huge.
Yeah, because when it all boils down to the social injustices that occurred 200 years ago shouldn't still be occurring now. We're much more evolved as a society.
The Constitution was built on that, because when you think about it, people that look like me, they only represented, or their vote only counted 3/5 if they were allowed to vote. And women weren't allowed to vote when that was created. So when you think about stuff like that.
Yeah. I think there's a way to make the Constitution itself be fluid, to evolve like our society has evolved.
Yeah.
And we have those checks and balances. But for whatever reason, some of those important topics, those important pieces have been left out for whatever reason or another. So it's just, we have more room to grow for a country that's, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively young country. If you look compared to Europe, in the number of centuries they've been around. So
you're right.
A lot of room to grow.
Oh, yes. But like you said, a lot of those issues just get pushed to the wayside.
Right, because they're uncomfortable. People don't like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So we're pushing towards the end of the year, pushing towards getting through, trying to enjoy the holiday season as much as we can, and getting into the first of next year, and everybody making their big scary goals. And one of the things I heard recently was about getting to New Year's and have that New Year's resolution. And one of the best things I heard a couple of years ago was, it shouldn't be New Year's resolutions because those are easy just to forget about. Mm-hmm. It should be goals that turn into routines, that solidifies routines, and you ultimately are successful in those goals, instead of having the New Year's resolution that you forget about by mid-February.
That's right. And don't you have something new going on too?
I do. I was chosen. So I had taught a class at our brokerage about social media marketing, and standing in front of the classroom reminded me of a lot of the training classes I used to do in the fire service, which is super fun for me. And so I saw that, and I'm a big follower of Jerry James and Jerry James coaching, and he does a lot of coaching for real estate professionals, but business people as well. And they wanted to add to their coaching staff. And that came out, that posting came out shortly after the class that we had done. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of ironic. It's almost like a glowing sign. Yeah. So I had submitted, and they had to have had hundreds of candidates do this. And I had a conversation with one of his staff that run the program, and ultimately chosen to be a Jerry James coach.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a hell of an opportunity. I think it'll add to my skill set to be able to help.
And mine.
ultimately, because it'll give me that skill set and those skills to be able to help, other professionals, run their business. And a lot of the stuff that Jared has, and I've been following for years, a lot of his instruction, even the free stuff that he gives away online on YouTube and everything else, is just outstanding. And he really knows how to run a real estate business.
I agree. He's top notch.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
Yeah. He really boils it down, and he makes it almost stupid simple for the rest of us that are, and for me, and I've talked about this before, for me, I get into this real estate business. I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea anything about real estate. So I had to learn a lot because that was just not in a place that I was comfortable or knew anything about.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, this is amazing, because those are the videos that we watch every single day. Yep. And you're going to be a part of that.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's a lot of fun for me, just like even, doing this podcast and stuff. It's fun for me. And that's the name of the game, is if you're going to do stuff, you might as well have fun doing it, because if it's not fun anymore, and I've been there, you're doing something that's not fun anymore, there's just no reason to do it.
Yeah, when you asked me to come on, I was trying to figure it out, because I do not want to miss any opportunities at all to talk to people, because like you said, this is fun.
Yeah.
I could talk for days, for hours, as long as you're listening.
Yeah, absolutely. And a former colleague of mine, he put together his own podcast with somebody as martial arts center. And these guys, I mean, they're knocking it out of the park with their podcast. And some of the there's some other local ones that I've heard and seen, and you try to pattern after. It's just having real conversation. I think people like that. And in this age of technology and not a lot of time, so you don't have a lot of time, so why not be able to listen to stuff like this? And so, especially content that brings value, some kind of value to everybody else. There's something to be said about that, I guess is my point.
You're right. And it's accessible content. Yep. So you can always have it with you if you have one of these things. Yeah, this is an iPhone 12, by the way. Yeah. Pro Max.
Very nice. Very nice.
They're not paying me to say that.
No, free commercial. free spot on the podcast with a commercial.
Yeah, I need it.
Awesome. Well, I think that we've hit multiple different things here once again, but we'll do more of these. It's fun to sit on these, Friday afternoon, have maybe a beverage, and just have a quick conversation about everything that's going on, because there's enough going on to be able to have those conversations. So
yeah, you're right.
Hugh, why don't you remind everybody how they can find you on social or anywhere else?
You can find me on Facebook as Hue Hanks, Hue Hanks, or you can find me on Instagram, Big Business Moves. And this is financial. I have all the merch.
He's got all the merch. I got to invest in some merch. I don't have any merch.
I have more merch coming too.
The most I have for merch is what I got, a freebie I got from the brokerage. That's about the only merch I got.
I have a whole bunch of merch coming soon, so check for it. And I have a podcast with my merch on it. Disclosures are prerequisites, because that's my true belief. I think everyone should disclose information early on, at the early onset, because we know so much. Well, actually, what it will do, it will prevent so many things from happening if you tell yourself or tell about yourself in the early on.
Transparency.
100%.
All the time. Yep. All right, Hugh, I appreciate you joining me here today. I hope our viewers got something out of our conversation. As always, we just pull up our chair to the virtual coffee table and talk about anything and anything. We'd appreciate it if you'd, like the show, share it with anybody that might feel get any value out of it. And until next time, everybody have a great weekend.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And happy belated Thanksgiving. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Yep.